All right, I finally figured it out. I think I'm online. I gotta mute my speakers there. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry, I'm such a newbie with this stuff. I apologize for your wait. Thank you so much for being patient. And I believe we should be rocking and rolling now. Let me mute this, make sure this audio is coming through. All right, cool. If anybody watching, if you just let me know you can hear me, you can hear the music and you can hear my microphone, that would really help. So I know that I am not completely speaking to myself. And this is actually getting through to somebody. So if you guys could just give me a quick shout out, let me know what the situation is. I would really appreciate that. You can hear me and you can music. Awesome, man. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are making some music today. I'm actually mixing music today, so that's why I'm going to start looking at the camera and not down here. Actually, let me just change this so I can better see your questions. Oops, wrong way. Let's make those bigger. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm mixing some tracks. This is an awesome trap promo track that I got from one of my members. Dope track. I'm not gonna have to do that much to it, actually. I'm going to mix and master it because that's what I do for all the tracks that I'm actually licensing and purchasing and then distributing to my partner. So I'm gonna actually go through this thing and make sure that it's up to my standards. But this is a super high quality track. I'm not gonna have to do too much to it. And I'm gonna be doing this pretty much all day, so I figure why not turn on the webcam, which I thought was actually gonna be a really easy thing to do. And now that I'm struggling with all this technical crap, I was pulling my hair out going, what the hell is going on? Turns out there was it's always one tiny little thing in the options tab in my live streaming software that needed to be on a different IP address so that it would work. And I've never, of course, had that problem in my life. Yeah, so now it's all working. So anyway, so I'm gonna get to work here. If you guys have questions or you're interested in what I got going on, just shout out, ask a question, and I'm gonna kind of turn my mic off though, because if I keep my mic on with my speakers, you'll hear a feedback and it'll just sound terrible. So I'm not gonna keep the mic on while I'm working. So feel free to just watch, ask any questions you guys have about anything you got going on. So I will turn off the mic now and get to work. Hello, hello. Okay, you guys can hear me now. So a quick tip I'm gonna give when you guys are using these horns, and especially trap music, you want those horns to be super aggressive, super loud, and basically distorted, like slightly distorted. So I'm gonna go through right now. I like the horns that this composer was using, but they need to be punchier and heavier and hitting you harder in the face. So I'm gonna go through and try a couple of just basic distortions that come with Logic, and I'll show you the sort of before and after of what you can do, just applying some basic guitar distortion or even just regular distortion to horn stabs like these ones. All right, microphone off. Hey man, I got your question there. If it were up to me to use a horn patch, right now I'm really liking the horns that come with Splice, or just are on the splice.com website. So I highly recommend going to splice.com, signing up for, it's basically a monthly membership. I think it's $8 a month. It gives you 100 samples you can download every month. And if you just type in horn or horn stab in the search bar, I was creating a whole bunch of trap stuff a couple weeks back, and I was using basically everything on Splice. So those intense horn stabs that basically already kind of sound like what I'm doing right now, those are on splice.com. So definitely recommend checking that out. That's, as far as this kind of sound, that's basically where I found the best samples. I can't tell you off the top of my head an actual library or a plugin that has these kind of sounds. I know there are out there, but since I'm kind of new to this trap world, I was having to look myself. In the first place I always look is Splice, because I already have a paying membership there, and if they have what I need, why do I have to go spend money and buy other plugins? I don't have to. So I'd rather just do something I've already been paying for. So that would be my answer for that. Now, just a little interruption here. So, the sound of this might be a little scary sounding or something that's kind of like out of a horror film or something. But actually, the vibe that we're going for with this sort of style of track is high energy and completely hyping somebody up for either a big fight or a big show or something. So the energy is supposed to be super high, super intense. And what I basically told all the syndicate members is just picture a UFC fighter in the locker room getting himself hyped up for a big fight. So what kind of music would he be listening to? What kind of music would be playing in the background of a scene like that? So that's why this track obviously made it onto the album, because it definitely has that emotional quality. It's just getting you hyped up and pumped up. And I just like the grittiness of it, and just everything about this track was just solid for me. So that's why this one made it on for sure. I haven't seen any questions from you guys for a little while, so I'm going to just get back to work. Again, if you guys have questions about this track or music licensing, just anything, whatever I'm doing here, mixing and mastering, about my process, let me know. I am no means a guru of mixing or mastering. I just have my particular way that I do things, and this is just the way that works for me, especially since I have a lot of tracks I have to get through in a short amount of time. I got to be as fast and as efficient as possible. So as you can see, I at the most probably will have 4 plugins on a track. Sometimes that's even rare. For the most part, it's like an EQ and a compressor, and that's it. You know, as long as the original sample and sound is sounding great as is, why mess with something that's working great? So I'm kind of more of a minimalist when it comes to that stuff. When it gets to mastering, I normally have a preset list of plugins that I use, and then I'll go through and adjust all the settings to match this particular track. And essentially what I do is after that I zero out all of my settings for that for the next track, and then do it again. But I pretty much have a preset list of mastering plugins that are normally my go-tos that recently I've been really having great results from, and I'm happy with the way that they work with all of my tracks. So I'm just kind of keeping it as is. So Mark wants to know what kind of synths or samples are playing in the low register, the guitar sounding that follows the bass, specifically follow pitch bend, or could you break that down? Now, just so you guys know, this is not my track. This is one of the syndicate members' tracks, so I'll do my best to explain what's going on in this track, but I can't tell you exactly what they used or anything like that, because as you can see, all I've been given is the waves, which is what I wanted, but I can't tell you exactly what they used. But low register, well, we have this guitar, which I think he performed that. I don't think that's actually a patch. He might have plugged in a guitar actually and recorded that one. And then you got the kick that has the 808 and the low sub. So there's that one. And then we have the horns, which I was messing with. Well, here we go. So there's that stuff. Ozone, yes, I love Ozone, but I don't use actually everything in an Ozone plugin. So I typically only use Ozone for the stereo spreader. You can basically compartmentalize what you want from an Ozone compressor plugin actually. So I actually bypass everything other than the stereo widener. So I basically use mostly built-in Logic plugins, and then I use that as well. And once I get to that, if I can get to that in this video, you guys will see how I do that. But first things first, I'm just going to get the mix down first, so you'll see that. The music volume is way down. Thank you for the feedbacks. Let me see if I can adjust that real quick. I definitely don't want to have quiet music here. Let's see. I can probably... Give me a second. I'm going to fix that right now. Make sure it's nice and loud. All right, that should have fixed that problem. You should hear it a lot more now. There's 3 on your screen. I don't know what you mean by that. Hey, Norman, what's up, man? I didn't know that was your username. Good to see you here, man. Glad you could join. Yes, I don't know about you see my there's 3 on my screen if you're talking about something else you're hearing. So anywho, I think I'm good now, so you guys should be able to hear everything a little better than I was doing before. So I'm gonna get back to work here. Another quick tip here. So as you can hear with this bass 808 thing, I mean, there's just one note in this track that's just super loud. I'll bypass what I was doing with my EQ there. That high note is just super, super loud. So basically I'm kind of going through the EQ, finding where that really loud note is and correcting for it, pulling it down a bit. But then I also want to boost back up some of the frequencies that I don't want to lose with having a low 808 kick like that. So if you can hear the difference there, basically just with a little bit of tweaking, those two notes are now a little bit more together, as opposed to one was super loud and the other one was quiet. So it just made you feel a little bit awkward as you went through this little bridge part. There was one more question here. Most of the songs get placements are reference music, like making a version of a song that's already out. Then the music, I would say, man, that's one way. So the question is basically, do you get more placements creating songs that sound like popular tracks that are already out, or do you get more placements creating completely a new original sounding songs that don't sound like anything else? I'd say if you're just getting started in the TV film world, you should be probably making songs that sound like big, awesome records, because chances are you're not a platinum producer yourself who can command attention from your sound alone, myself included in there. Okay, so I am not a recognizable producer that, you know, thousands or millions of people know my sound when they hear it. So when I first got into this business, and I still do it to this day, I'm looking towards who's getting placements, what kind of sound is it, how great is it doing, and then I want to basically emulate it, right? Not rip it off, not take their chord progression, not take what they're doing, but basically learn from what their process is and incorporate it into my style, because I do have my own unique style, and you guys have your own unique style. So you don't want to become somebody else, some other producer. You want to actually use your own style. But definitely you want to use templates, you want to use references, you want to listen to what the library you're contributing to has already, what music they seem to be getting a lot of use out of. Because if you're going to be competitive, you got to be on par with what they have. So I kind of tell people who are new in this business, don't fight an uphill battle trying to reinvent the wheel. Just go find what people want and give it to them. It's actually probably the best advice that I could give anybody starting any kind of business, no matter what you're going to do. Most of us were taught when we were growing up, the best way to start a business is, come up with an amazing invention and then go sell it to people, right? Come up with some doohickey that does something really cool and unique and interesting, and then just become a millionaire and sell it to people and they'll love it. That is one way to get a business off the ground and running, but it's a very hard and very few people succeed doing it that way. The more profitable and practical way to go about it is go find the people first and ask what they want. So rather than, isolating yourself in a little bubble and saying, what do I think these people want? I'll try to do this and then I'll give it to them. Hopefully they like it. Rather than doing all that guesswork, why don't you just go to people? You can do market research. You can go get buyer lists. There's people that, there's people out there, marketing experts, that'll tell you what it is. And in this industry, you basically just go to libraries and you look at their catalog, and you can just find, you don't even have to talk to anybody on the phone. You don't have to email them. You basically just look for what it is that they have in their catalog, what seems to be very popular in their catalog, and then you go deliver that exactly to them, right? So it's like a cheat sheet. It's a shortcut directly to getting really great placements and stuff. But as you get further and further into this business, you can start developing kind of your own niche. And what I definitely recommend to all of my students is you should start to, you can play with a few different genres in the beginning, but as you get more further and further into this business, you should start to really focus on probably one unique sound that's yours. Maybe it's a hybrid sound. Maybe you can combine two genres that most people can't, and you can do it really, really well. And then you become known as the X guy or the X gal, right? You're that person who can really deliver that sound. I can tell you from the people that I know, that is definitely how they're, commanding large placements and large checks. And it's how I've been able to place my large placements and my large checks, and how I've been able to also stay relevant in the circles that I'm in. And it actually depends from library to library. So some libraries I'm known as the dance EDM pop guy. Other libraries I'm known as the rock metal whatever guy. Okay, so I can do a few different genres, but whoever I'm working with as a writer, right, not as a publisher, but as a writer, I'm sort of filling in their gap. So maybe they already have a ton of rock producers and punk rock producers and all that kind of stuff. So I don't need to really be serving them necessarily, but I can bring EDM or pop or, dance music, and they don't have anything like that, or they have very little or not that high a quality. So I can be that person to step in that lane and do some really cool stuff for them that way. So definitely use references, use the things that are getting placed. Life is short. You don't want to be, swinging around and missing for years before you come up with a sound that's licensable. Rather than do that in the beginning, just go find out what the pros are doing, what people want, give them that, okay? That sound that that's getting placements right now. Then as you sort of build up your royalty base and build up your catalog, you can get a little bit more experimental and try some things and sort of really edge your way into a nice little niche for yourself if you can. But I would say just go for whatever is getting placed the most. That's the fastest way, at least. You're going to start seeing those placements come up. So, okay. So you're saying I was talking about the questions. I got it now. So, all right, cool. We're back on track. All right, back to work here. So real briefly, I'm kind of creating a little bit more interest in this track, a little bit more what I call dynamics, interesting transitions and that kind of thing. So right now there's a lot going on in this track, and I don't want it to be too busy. So what I'm thinking now is I'm listening back to the track, and I have sort of a basic mixing foundation laid. I'm really going to start going back and stripping things away, including this little turnaround here. Sorry, I was probably playing both. You're going to hear some crap there. So yeah, you don't want to have too much going on in your track. This track has a lot of great things going on it, but it's almost like it's too much good stuff happening at once. So what I'm probably going to do is go through this and start stripping out parts here and there, simplifying the entire thing and making sure the entire track is breathing and moving forward, so that at every chorus you hear something new. You know, every verse section you start hearing new things going on, and that's what a music supervisor is going to absolutely love, is something that is constantly progressing and adding something new for them to choose from if they want to select different parts of your song and place it into a show. Aaron Davison, whose music is not parlor but a simple approach. I don't know who Aaron Davison is, man. So if you want to let me know about who he is. Yeah, man. So you gotta let me know who Aaron Davison is. I don't know that name. And I'll tell you what I think if I knew who it was. All right, so I'm gonna go back to work stripping some stuff out here. All right, guys. So there is some construction going on next door. So a jackhammer has started and it's getting a little out of control. So I'm going to have to pause this for now. And I'll probably come back. I think these guys only are working for a couple hours and then I'll be able to come back. So I might be able to live stream again tonight. If not, I'm going to just keep going and try to knock this out. Hopefully in between they're making up a whole bunch of noise. But you guys can see, I guess, where I'm going with this one. And right now, I guess the name of the game is how much can I cut out to enhance this track. And also, as you can see, what I'm doing with this intro here is trying to make it grow from gradual, from nothing to something more. So that's where I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching. And I hope you guys get working on your tracks and your songs, whatever you're doing today. Get to work on all of them. And that's it. Hopefully we'll see you guys very soon. Take care.